world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb-driven cattle. Be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within, and God o'erhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, may take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
Hi, I'm Skinner Lane. I'm the founder of Exosphere. Exosphere is a learning and problem-solving community, and our mission is to build the institutions of the future. Unfortunately, in the 21st century, the lives that we are leading are very incongruent with the institutions that are supposed to be serving us. The state, the church, the university, schools are all built for a world that doesn't exist anymore. They were designed in a time that doesn't really have a lot of resemblance to the time that we live in today. And if we're going to move forward generally as the human race, we need institutions. So the last 40 or 50 years, or really you could say since the Second World War, we've had a slow decline of all of our institutions, pretty much everywhere in the world. And there have been many movements to criticize, tear down, and neutralize the institutions that most of our society is built on, but not much effort to replace them or to build them back up.
My name is Edward Sullivan. I'm the CEO and managing partner of Velocity Group, an executive coaching and training firm in San Francisco and New York. What I find so interesting about Exosphere is that it's one of the only places I've seen that brings together some of the smartest and brightest minds from all over the world and puts them together in this little petri dish here in Florianópolis, Brazil, where they have the resources, the tools, and the permission to experiment, to explore new ideas, to learn new skills, and to collaborate with each other in an incredibly collaborative and exciting environment. It's one of the few places where you can learn in this collaborative environment, in this experimental environment, exactly how to build new technology and build new companies.
And while technology has filled in a lot of the gaps, technology's approach to solving the problems that institutions previously solved is to solve one little tiny piece of the problem. And so, as a result, young people, especially today, find themselves where there are solutions to most of their small problems, but no solutions to their big problems. There's no narrative, no institution, no organization helping them figure out why they're here, what they're supposed to do with their life, how to do it, and the advice that they're getting from their parents is outdated. It is, again, it's advice that would have worked 30 years ago, but it's not true today. So when parents tell their kids, go study at university and your life will be fine, well, this is just, it's not a lie, it's just false. Like, I don't think that the parents know that it's false, but it's that they haven't updated their map. So what our goal here at Exosphere is to do is to build institutions. And this is very difficult. It's not the same as building a company or building a startup, because the goal of an institution is to last for generations and generations beyond the lives of the people that start it. And so designing that kind of organization presents a number of very unique challenges. But that's really why we're here. So clearly education is one of the areas where we most desperately need new institutions. Educational institutions that are responsive to the needs of people, that reflect the state of the world, the way the global economy operates. When the Industrial Revolution began, the university slowly began transitioning to this bizarre role that it has today of supposedly training people for jobs. So this was not really the purpose of the university until quite recently.
At the very beginning, when I just left the academia, this happened like 3 months ago, I was planning to first just spend a year living a simple life, just having a job that wouldn't take me more than 2-3 days a week, teaching, for example, and then using all my free time to just study and explore many different things.
We need educational institutions that respond to the needs of the students and that reflect the reality of the global economy.
One thing that really stuck out to me when I was on Exosphere's website and looking at the program was that they said that here they would teach us how to take all these ideas that we have and put it into practical action. And so I think that the project-based methodology and the communicating through actual teamwork, through actually doing things, is very constructive for real learning to take place and for people to understand how to bring these ideas into the real world.
And I was doing that until, through some friend, I found out about Exosphere. And when I went to their website, it really caught my attention. It seemed like a really interesting program. And so I said, yeah, why not? I'll apply. I have nothing to lose. It's a very short application.
People are under the very mistaken impression that it's always been this way. But even during the 19th century, if you wanted to work as an engineer, you didn't go to a university. Like, universities only started training engineers in the latter part of the 19th century. So, in fact, an engineer used to be a tradesperson. Like, they were somebody that they were apprenticed to an engineer, and they learned on the job how to be an engineer.
I will not dare to do a simple definition, because there are several approaches to that. The approach that I get here at the Exosphere is an educational one. It's about empowering regular people to take biosciences in their hands and do whatever they want with this information, this knowledge. So biohacking from this perspective is about making people able to do what they want regarding genetic modification, dealing with microorganisms, culture and microorganisms making. For example, we worked here with fluorescent beer, and we have people that had never ever touched any microorganisms in a lab approach. And they did it, and they will be able to reproduce this kind of process and do at their homes if they want to. So it's about empowering people with knowledge.
So this system might make sense in a world where you could expect to have the same job for your whole life. In the economy that we live in today, and it's only going to accelerate, it's only going to become more extreme, if you're not constantly learning and updating your skill set based on the new skills that are coming available. And with artificial intelligence and automation, this is going to become a necessity very quickly. Employers think that they want people who didn't make any mistakes. And then they find that those people are not very good at solving problems. Why? Because they've not actually encountered any real problems. They've avoided problems. Well, part of the reason for this is that there's an educational system that says, take the path of least resistance. If you see a problem, run away from it. Don't run toward it, run away from it. Because if you run toward the problem, then people might say, ooh, this person, a bit strange. We can't have somebody like that around. They might expose the rest of us as being frauds or thieves or whatever, which is basically your political system, right? And what we really need to tell children and teenagers and adults and old people, everybody, is that making mistakes, as long as they're not the same mistakes, perfectly fine. And so we encourage students to get into something that's unfamiliar, maybe even intimidating to them, and try it and mess up. There's not much real penalty to messing up. And then in the process of that, they not only learn the information that they need to learn, but they also learn about themselves. They learn, okay, what happens to me emotionally when I make a mistake?
My name is Carlos Montoya. I come from Peru. I am in the entrepreneurship stream. I'm working with one girl of the blockchain stream. We're working in a blockchain technology that helps people who get interviewed from these villages in India to get paid for the data they're providing.
We know that our data has power and is valuable. This is why every year governments and private organizations around the world go in to conduct census of information about us, the people.
And so I appreciate the program taking time to focus on that, to encourage, whether it's just good health habits, sleep, good diet, hygiene, taking time for yourself, meditating, physical activity, and that if you say to your classmates, you know, I need a moment, I need to process this, or I need some time for meditation, would you mind taking a walk with me? I need to talk through something. The personal development aspect was something that did draw me to the Exosphere program and approach, in that it wasn't just, here's a boot camp, go learn the technology. The reality is if you could just get a new piece of technology or skill set, but you're still kind of worked up with something on your own, or you have bad habits that you're not turning around and actually addressing, it's not going to do much to change things. And if you're feeling stuck, you want to make a change, that's going to only start with you.
Like a lot of people come here knowing nothing about the subject that they want to study. A lot of people came here not knowing anything about artificial intelligence or biohacking, especially those two fields, and got into it and said, wow, I didn't know it was this easy. Sure, it's actually hard, but it's not impossibly hard. Like, I thought I couldn't do it. And so we want to show people that what they can do is pretty much unlimited, and the only limitation is what's going on inside. The way they're thinking about a problem and the way they're feeling about themselves and the people around them. If you don't build the right foundation, anything you put on top of it will just fall down. And that's effectively what the university has done for the last 200 years, is tried building tall buildings on top of sand. And what we want to do is help people put up a really strong foundation internally, individually, so that whatever they build on top of it will stand for a long time to come. In this program we had 4 different streams: entrepreneurship, biohacking, artificial intelligence, and blockchain.
I'm in the biohacking stream, and the project I'm working on is bioconcrete. So it's a concrete where they mix bacteria in, and when the concrete cracks, the bacteria will actually heal the cracks in the concrete.
We are developing an app that will gather data from users about their tastes in various entertainment media, and then our matching algorithm will sort these users into specific groups and then prompt them with a new piece of media to encourage discussion and the development of genuine communication between them and hopefully genuine connections.
My name is Giovanni Alberto Crestani. I am 20 years old. I am from Brazil, and I am working on a biohacking stream project called Waxworm. We actually don't have a name for it, but the purpose is to explore a characteristic of a waxworm that can eat plastic. It has been known that this worm can degrade plastic and leave ethylene glycol, that is an antifreezing chemical matter that is high valuable on the market. My project works on degrading plastic. I think it's one major issue of our society is the trash that we're producing. We're not dealing with our trash the way we're supposed to deal. We have a lot of open air trash fields where we have a lot of contamination on the soil and on our water, and this is actually a big concern for society these years to come. It is now, and it will be increased on the years to come. And our project works on a technology that actually breaks plastic, and it's a way to recycle plastic, and our objective is to be able to apply this on these large trash fields where we can solve this problem and help those people to recycle the plastic. So I think our project is very impactful on the environment and so far on the society.
My name is Federico. I'm from Colombia. I'm a biomedical engineering student. I think humanity has some issues right now, being education and environmental crisis. The biggest ones, I think, we have one because of the other. The education we are receiving is not the best, and I think that the Biolab Creation School is a way to make people aware of their own problems in the world, like plastic. And learning by doing is the best way to learn and to do things, because when you learn by doing things, you are able to face bigger problems. And the Waxworm is just a crazy idea that could work in a big way, and I think that society needs both education and environmental care.
Pick a project in the first week and try to stay with that project through the whole program. There's a habit of jumping from one thing to another and not really staying with something for a long time. And part of that is that people think, oh, this thing is hard, but another thing will be easier. So they jump to the other thing, and it's easier for about 10 minutes, and then it's hard again. And, oh, well, so I need to go to another thing. So we really try to encourage people to stay with it, that actually the friction that comes from the difficult parts, that's where the real learning happens. So it's always nice to see when people take on ambitious and difficult projects and really stay with them through the whole program. So that's one example of projects that of the projects that came out of the program. We had people working on applications of artificial intelligence to streamline the work done by lawyers, for example. Monitoring children, babies, whether they're breathing, to deal with sudden infant death syndrome. So there are a wide variety of projects touching different technologies and different industries. And our goal here has always been to create a transdisciplinary environment, a place where people are not confined to only thinking about problems with one set of lenses. Because in traditional education says there's the physics lens, and there's the chemistry lens, and there's the mechanical engineering lens, and those are all different things. But in the end, there's just nature in nature's complexity. And we use the language of physics and the language of chemistry to describe phenomena that exist in nature. But they aren't different phenomena, right? You can use the language of physics to describe water, dropping water, gravity. You can use chemistry as a language to describe water. You can use biology as a way to describe those, but it's still just water, right? So what we encourage people to do is not to be trapped in one silo of thinking, but to look at the problems from a more cross-cutting or horizontal approach. And this leads to much more creative solutions. And really, I think all of the interesting solutions to the world's problems are at the touching, the overlapping or intersecting point of different fields of information.
Well, the reason I went into this project is because there are a lot of opportunities to help society. I know in Canada, where I came from, they salt the roads in the winter, and the salt, when the snow melts, the salt gets into the cracks and ruins the rebar. It rusts the rebar, corrodes it, and the cracks get bigger. And every summer, they have to close highways down and bridges to repair them. So this would be a way to prevent that, because every summer you could just go around and spray in the cracks and have them heal themselves. And we're looking also here at mixing our bioconcrete with your red mud that's used for building material here in Brazil that could make the material more stable and more solid.
I think that the societal impact will come from the problem that we're looking at, in that it's very difficult currently for us to make genuine connections in these virtual environments. And now that virtual spaces are so kind of prevalent in society, everybody's using social media, everybody's talking to people in physical locations that they may have never been able to access because of these digital channels. I think that it's very important for projects like ours and projects that are happening at Exosphere to encourage this genuine communication and to allow people to connect with other people through this almost miracle that is the internet.
Another of the things that we do, or that we encourage our students to do, is to work with other students in the program. There are really no cases of hyper-successful solo founders of anything. Like, it's just not possible for one person to do everything that needs to be done. I mean, that is, I think, itself obvious. But there's another layer that I think people underestimate, which is the psychological difficulty of doing anything alone. Like, if you feel alone, it's very hard to stay motivated. Like, when you hit a wall, and everything hits a wall. Like, anything new or different, whether you're learning a language or you're building an AI product, there's going to be a wall, and you're going to run into it and then say, oh, this is really hard. I don't want to keep going. And if you're working alone, there's nobody around to help say, hey, like, we can't quit, we have to keep trying.
Oh, the team's great. Most of them are under 25, so quite young. There's a couple of us are older, and one person is in his 40s. And it's been a great experience being with the younger people. As where I live is a retirement area in Ecuador, and most of the people are 55, 60, 65, and they don't want to do much other than just enjoy their lives.
We have some amazing teams. They're working on a wide range of areas, from health to law to designing new forms of machine cognition. and new forms of accessing machine intelligence that make it more accessible and more affordable for people all around the world. Broadly, I would say that the one theme that unites most of the projects is trying to make machines understand human beings better and trying to make innovations driven by machine intelligence, which are affordable, and so that everyone all around the world will be able to benefit from these technologies. That seems to be what everyone is focusing on this year. I've always believed that true innovation happens where different cultures meet, sometimes for the first time. And that's what we're seeing here at Exosphere. Different ideas are meeting, different ideas are interweaving and spawning new ones. And I'm certain that by the end of the program, some of these ideas will have evolved into things which are truly groundbreaking, revolutionary, and world-class.
So what we try to do is to encourage students, because working with people is difficult. There are conflicts, disagreements, difficulties. To embrace those challenges, confront them head on, rather than trying to avoid them. And community building is a way that, that people learn how to do that in a way where their emotional reactions don't just get immediately in the way.
Exosphere creates kind of this environment of collaboration, and so working with my team, I come from the art and media background. Pedro and Bruno are very good at coding. Pedro knows how to do the user experience. Bruno can do the back-end data analysis. Hale is really good at marketing, and so we all come together kind of and have our individual skills that work to make a cohesive product and a cohesive plan of action to get this done.
I start all of my workshops with a quote from the preface to Emerson's Self-Reliance. The quote is actually not from Emerson. It's from a play called An Honest Man's Fortune by Beaumont and Fletcher. And the quote says, "Man is his own star, and the soul that can render an honest and a perfect man commands all light, all influence, all fate. Nothing to him falls early or too late. Our acts, our angels are, or good or ill, our fatal shadows that walk by us still." And I think that the question, who am I, is really only answerable by navigating through the river of experience and inputs into my mind.
Rosemary Lapka. I'd probably consider myself a global citizen, but originally coming from the Chicago area of the United States. I'm in the beginning stages of a blockchain learning sabbatical, full-time, just focusing my efforts on that. And Exosphere is what kicked that off for me. I came to focus on blockchain and see what can I learn, what do I still have to learn, what role do I want to play with this, what can be done with the technology.
The university says there's this information, and that's the most important thing. And if you learn this information, then you get a big thumbs up, a sticker that says you're smart. And you ask them, well, what are they doing and why are they doing it? Well, most of the time they're studying for exams. And if you ask them why, they say, well, to graduate. Rather than, well, I'm studying because I want to understand physics or chemistry or artificial intelligence or whatever it might be. No, the goal isn't to understand anything. The goal is to win at the learning game. Which is actually the opposite of learning anything at all, right? So what we do is we say, okay, the information doesn't matter. Like, it matters, but it doesn't matter at all if the individual, if the student is not first right in their mind. So if that isn't taken care of, then it actually doesn't matter what the information is or what you can do with it.
I'm Austin Wigglesworth. I like to read, I like to learn, I like to go outside and find new things. I come from a small town and I grew up kind of near the woods. I would ski and hike and I got very excited by the emerging technologies of virtual and augmented reality, and those tech studies kind of coincidentally led me to Exosphere. And so now I'm here just kind of refining myself and refining my studies, and it's good.
We start all of our processes by helping students look inside of themselves, figure out what motivates them, what they care about, what gets them out of bed in the morning, what stokes their curiosity, and then say, follow that.
In order to really be effective with digital communication and digital media, a person needs to really understand who they are and why they're doing the things they're doing. You know, who a person is. What social communication is really amplifying what already exists.
I really, really love Brazil. Everybody's willing to help me live happily and help me move forwards, and I'm very grateful for the lifestyle that...
The most important skill that anybody can learn is how to learn. So meta-learning is really the ultimate skill in the 21st century and going forward. Because if you know how to teach yourself anything, then you aren't dependent on expensive, time-consuming external institutions to teach you things. So our approach is to first focus on the individual learner. So one of the things that distinguishes Exosphere's approach to education from the traditional modalities of education is our view is that the learner, the individual student, is at the center rather than the information being at the center.
Because of my studies in art and literature, I became very interested in the relationship between the creator and the consumer. And I find that this act of personal expression of values is a very powerful thing. Specifically, a means to access these channels of communication is becoming more and more prevalent in my life, and I think in the world around me.
Now, a lot of people think about technological change in very small time horizons, but we see we're still going through, like, this is still the Industrial Revolution. People they think that the Industrial Revolution happened in in the past and it was over, but it's actually been going on since the 1700s, and it's still going on, and it's accelerating. Like, it's still a revolution. So we've tried to target the technologies that are going to be the biggest players in the ongoing industrial revolution. So the only one, the two that are kind of missing that we are working to add in the future are the sort of hardware, drones, Internet of Things, robotics area, and then virtual and augmented reality. Now, we did have people in our artificial intelligence stream and entrepreneurship stream working on artificial or augmented and virtual reality projects. So some of that did happen. And then when you run into difficulty, whatever you're learning, if you know why you're learning it, if it's connected to you as a person and your goals, then it's much easier to overcome those barriers when they arrive.
I think that when you start, usually, when people start, they have a problem that's huge, they want to solve, and sometimes your proposal solution is too big. So we help them to focus and to find and to narrow down and find what specific problem they're trying to solve and how to better address the solution towards that specific problem.
This process takes a different form for everybody. So some people, they need a long time to really figure out their internal moving parts. And they want to have everything kind of organized before they start something. Other people feel more comfortable just jumping in and messing things up and breaking things and then learning as the process of fixing whatever they broke. We encourage people to try to do a bit of both. For those that think they need to learn everything first before they start doing anything, we challenge them to, hey, maybe you could push yourself a little bit, take a little bit of risk, try something. Don't worry, it's okay if you fail. Because real learning is just response to failure. I mean, that's actually how learning takes place in small children. A small child will try to pronounce a word, and then they hear that it doesn't match what they expected it to be, so then they try again, and this is a gradual improvement process, right? That learning is just taking mistakes and responding to them. I think that also in modernity, like since the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, we live in this very odd denial about emotions. Like we say, okay, emotions belong over here, and then here is work and education, and they're separate, right? But they aren't separate. So you can't take the emotional state of the individual out of a team environment at a job or out of a learning environment in a school. So it's better to embrace that reality and help people learn how to process their thoughts, their emotions, to understand their biases and help them correct their biases in thinking.
To me, the idea of being a global citizen is we've created boundaries, we've drawn lines, imaginary lines on the earth of who's in, who's out. But the reality is we're all still humans living on this planet. And we have our differences of thought, of how to live, what we value, what we eat, how we spend our days. But at the end of the day, we're all still human.
The word philosophy means love of knowledge. Not fascination with knowledge, not curiosity about knowledge, not the pursuit of knowledge in order to impress people, but the love of knowledge for itself, just because it's there. Like that's basically what real philosophy is about, is saying, I exist, well, now what? What do I do with that? What do I do with the fact that existence means that I'm going to experience loneliness, that I'm going to feel alienated from other people, that I'm going to question whether life itself has any meaning, that I'm going to be anxious about the fact that I have a limited amount of time to exist.
I appreciate learning those differences and experiencing those differences. And that's what I think made Exosphere appealing too. It wasn't just going to be another standard program with the same type of people with all the same type of perspective. There's folks from throughout Latin America. I appreciate that diversity of perspective, and that's something I like about Exosphere.
For sure, most of the broken assumptions that caused me the most pain in my life came from education. They came from promises that were made, assurances that were given by parents or teachers or whoever, and very few of them have even been given permission to think for themselves. Very few of them think that their individual particular life is actually their life and not somebody else's life. And their talent, their ability, their potential is locked and trapped inside of a shell. So until everybody is out of those shells, there's a lot of work to do. Because all of the other problems, all of them, will be solved. If they're to be solved, they will be solved by individual minds. So we need as many individual minds free from all constraints except their own principles. So I get up in the morning because I just want to help people break through those shells and see for themselves their own real face in the mirror, and to see all of the possibilities that that holds inside. And then to take action on it, to actually get out and do something with it, as imperfect as it will be, as failed as it will be in the short term, and to keep doing it with the assurance that that way of living, and what I mean by that way of living is really properly called a life of faith. Faith that I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I know it's the right thing to do, even if the results don't come along. I'm going to trust that eventually it does pay off. Maybe even after I'm gone, but it will eventually pay off. Like, to me, that is the proper definition of a life of faith.
I'm Gabriel Scher. I came down to Chile when Exosphere was doing their second boot camp. And back then it was a very different program than it is now. It was a 3-month-long general boot camp that covered all topics. And it was very intensive, and it was there that I met who would later become my business partners. And so after the program was finished, we went off and we started a project that we conceived there. And we've been working on that for the past 3 years. So we're one of the teams that was founded in the Exosphere ecosystem, and we've stuck with it, and we've been working for the past 3 years. And so now I've come to see what they've been doing here lately. And in Florianópolis, this location is gorgeous. They appear to be doing a very good job so far. And today I guess we're going to be seeing some pitches, and I'm very excited to see what other projects will be founded and born today that might be similar to ours or will have the same potential to carry on long term.
So this is also the first program where we had investors looking to get involved in in projects and push them to the next level. So especially the week leading up to the investors being here, there was kind of nervous, anxious excitement going around, especially our house. And it was really amazing to see how the students stepped up and really were very impressive across the board in a room full of people who were actually interested in an idea that they just started working on 6 weeks earlier. It's amazing to see that.
My name is Andy Elwood, and I guess you could call me a serial entrepreneur. I have had the opportunity to be in the middle of a lot of great projects, and I think about myself a little bit like a wartime consigliere. I like to find people with huge ideas and be the guy behind the guy. My self-esteem is big enough that I don't necessarily have to be the CEO of something, but I like to find people who are doing their best to put a dent in the universe and hopefully be the jet fuel, or at least part of the reason why they go from an idea to actually something that makes the impact that it's supposed to. One of the projects, obviously, that I'm most excited about is Exosphere. I've been involved for 5 years. When Skinner called me and said he had a hunch about this idea, but he already knew what he was going to call it, I said, okay, what's it called? He said, we're going to call it Exosphere, and I bought the domain name the same day, just to make sure. I've been fortunate to be in a spot where, living in New York City, I've been working in startups for about 8 years now. I've been fortunate that the first 3 startups I worked on all were bought by larger companies. But I've been an advisor and an investor and a consultant to about 20 or 30 other smaller companies where I was involved in a small way.
My name is Mark Moline, and I'm the co-founder of Seraph VC, which is a venture capital group based in New Zealand with members in 16 countries, and we invest mostly in early stage technology startups. Well, we're an investor in Exosphere, so we made an investment in the parent company, so we strongly believe in the thesis. Skinner and I share many common values and beliefs, and so I really believe in the program and what he's created here. And the support that he's gotten from the other faculty members and the people that have decided to come and participate in Exosphere is really very encouraging, and some great people, fantastic faculty, so I think it's a great program.
My name is Gary Pascal. I'm from the US, from Texas. I'm an angel investor that knows Andy, and then through Andy I came to meet Skinner, and through meeting Skinner I find myself in Florianópolis in Brazil. Well, you're looking for a project that's addressing a problem. You're looking for a project that's not just another iteration of something that already exists. You're looking for something that's trying something and addressing something that no one really has addressed or hasn't addressed well.
Maybe things I haven't heard before. At this point, it's hard to but there's so much innovation in technology. It moves so quickly. You've got to pay attention, and I think being in an environment like this where there's so many smart people in such a small space, really learning about not so much what to create but how to create generates a lot of interesting ideas and conversations. So what I want to see is I want to meet people that have ideas that can execute, and I think in an environment like this it's easy to find that. So we've found a few things already that we're quite excited about.
The other thing in any sort of pitch, and sometimes even the pitch, you can't know this, but there's a sense of knowing the person. Do they have the grit, the drive to do this? Because this isn't easy. This takes courage, and you want to know as an investor, either at the pitch or through different interactions with the person, that they have grit and they want to see this through.
I know that they're working on a lot of interesting technology frontiers, and one of the buildings in this village that we're building in Chile is dedicated to cryptocurrency blockchain technology. And so I'm really curious to see what sort of projects might be able to cross-pollinate with that, because we love finding new guest speakers, new experts to represent and to put on presentations. So I'm hoping to find some good people to participate in that, and also other technologies that support and are, you know, connected to blockchain that aren't necessarily the same thing, but everything's connected in some way.
We ask people to make those decisions for themselves, to unlearn a lot of the things that they've spent the first 20, 30, 40, 60 years of their life learning, and say, are these lessons, are these principles things that I should continue to carry with me? Are these the things that are going to serve me on the path that I have going forward? And if they're not, get rid of them. Leave them here and never ever go back. And that's a challenge, right? This is a special place. This is a place where you have the opportunity to question things. You have the opportunity to think further outside the box than you might in the quote-unquote real world.
I think some of them are very early. I mean, all of them are early. But in general, I think that they did a fairly good job. I know that this was basically a first attempt for many of them, and it was a practice session. So I appreciate their efforts, and I think they did a fantastic job. So a couple very interesting things, some things we might follow up on. But I think in general, what Skinner and his staff have taught these guys about how to present and how to ask for money, I think some important lessons. So they did a good job.
When do you wish you would have known about something like Exosphere? And his answer was completely different than mine. But our two answers represented the two types of people that we see coming to Exosphere. The first is the isolated genius. The person that knows they're talented, knows they're gifted, knows that they have more to offer than what's currently being asked of them. And whether that's while they're in junior high and high school, like it was for Skinner, or it's college or first job, second job, first career, second career. They know that they have gifts that are not being utilized in the way that they think that they could or should, but since no one's asking them to, they're not pushing themselves to do it.
I think these projects are really interesting. I think in the first place, a lot of them are addressing problems that are very local. So you have projects in Colombia, projects in Peru, projects in Brazil, and they're looking at specific issues in their countries. And I think there's something really exciting about that. Because it's those real interactions with people, whether it be small business owners, whether it be concrete manufacturers, people that are employing other people. If you find ways to make their lives better through your service, that benefits a community. It's more than just a business in and of itself. And so so what I heard today, at least at that level, was really exciting.
Giving people that space to discover themselves, to discover what they truly believe, we give people the chance to discover themselves and discover the impact that they want to make, the problem that they want to solve, the mark that they want to leave on the world.
As soon as you leave the situation, a lot of the people, they stop their project and they fall back into their old habits and things like that. So we wanted to offer a solution for programs like Exosphere to use long-term.
I think secondly, what I really thought was exciting was how much of it is grounded in hard science. A lot of pitches I have heard are purely and primarily tech, and that's fine, and there's definitely a place for that. But it's very refreshing to hear, young scientists looking at a problem, putting in the hours, doing the research, and finding some interesting things in nature that they're looking to grow and seeing if they could scale. And I think that has real lasting value. So those things, so the locality of where they're doing their projects to some of the hard science behind them is really interesting to me, and it's very exciting.
The disillusioned professional that says, all of these systems that are currently in place are enslaving me to work for somebody else and are not at all of interest to my future and to the story that I want to tell for myself and maybe someday for my family. We have people of all ages showing up in those two categories here at Exosphere. Isolated geniuses as young as 16 and disgruntled and disillusioned professionals as old as 64. And the mashup of those two groups together is a fascinating place to try and create something new and create something that matters.
I haven't really processed that it's completely over yet, and there's one part of me that's a little bit sad that it's over, but there's most of me that's very, very excited to move on after this and to use what I've learned here in my life at home and in my future, and the future that I hopefully help build for the people around me. And so it's been the best time of my life. My experience here really showed me that I do have a skill with presentations, and it felt so good to help Roger with that skill and to be able to give him that ability to present. And it was for a project that I truly, truly believe in. I hope to use Roger's Exopack in my own studies, in my own pursuits. And so it was really fun to do it for him, and I wrote it this morning and memorized it today, and to be able to see that come together in one day, it just really reinforced to me the skills that I have developed here. And I'm so glad it's for such a cool and innovative project.
So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Austin Wigglesworth, who's going to be our first presenter. Welcome, Austin.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Emerging technologies have the power to change the world. Some of these technologies that I am most excited for are the technologies of mixed reality. Mixed reality is the integration of the digital world into our real world. These technologies can take the form of things such as augmented reality. Education is one branch of our world where I'm very excited to see the integration of virtual reality. Students will be able to access their studies more actively and hands-on than ever before, and truly understand what it means to live and learn in our world. The product that I am pitching you today is called the Exopack, and it is a virtual reality backpack. I will now bring up our very own Vanna White, who's also the founder and creator of Exopack, Roger Ryder, to tell you more about the specifications of the hardware. So Roger will speak about the specifications of the hardware inside of the Exopack.
So what Exopack allows you to do, unlike competing solutions on the market today, is to be able to put a standard off-the-shelf desktop graphics card, or GPU.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane Oliveira, and I'm here to talk about the Legal Document Accelerator. Akira will be a software as a service, and it will basically work like that. You can upload your file, reading with tags, and then the system will automatically recognize all the entities and create a wizard. In this wizard, the user can write down all the data from these 500 petitions, and then just press the button, generate, and he will have 500 outputs PDF file petitions with the watermark of the law firm ready to use.
The way I think this should be done is through a microbial catalyst. This means that the microbes basically do the work for you, so that's very nice. What you can see here is a kind of old research paper. This is not new, but only recently with solar this is starting to make sense. It's a device that can convert electrical energy to chemical energy.
I want to hear from she or from he that they've really thought through the problem and whether and thought through who else is looking at this problem. Because as an investor, you want to know that this has a real chance of becoming something and being a viable business. And you can hear catchphrases and you can hear jargon, but you really want to know from that person, their understanding of what the problem is.
And the disillusioned professional is the other side of the coin. The disillusioned professional that says, all of these systems that are currently in place are enslaving me to work for somebody else, and are not at all of interest to my future and to the story that I want to tell for myself and maybe someday for my family. We have people all ages showing up in those two categories here at Exosphere. Isolated geniuses as young as 16 and disgruntled and disillusioned professionals as old as 64. And the mashup of those two groups together is a fascinating place to try and create something new and create something that matters.
I am very happy about what Exosphere is doing. I'm very optimistic about the direction that we have taken, and I'm very optimistic for the fact that we are really creating an alternative for the young people, for the talented people that would like to make something concrete in this world.
Absolutely, I would say this has started something. Don't let it die. You're going to go back home to your home countries. You're going to be tempted to fall back into your old ways and do things the easy way. You're going to be tempted to find a job or lean on other people for support and think, but just for God's sake, don't, because you don't want to lose what you started here. You've already invested a lot of energy and passion, and you need to just keep it going. Even if it doesn't seem all that inspiring every day, just do one little action every day to keep the momentum going. And eventually, after 3 years, like me, you'll have accomplished something.
I remember when I saw the website for Exosphere, they said accomplish more in 6 weeks than you have in the last 6 years, or in the last year, whatever it is. And the reality is, I was able to accomplish something that's taken me 10 years to do. And that was to not let perfect be the enemy of the good and actually publish my personal website. So I've been wanting one for 10 years. I'm a former graphic designer, self-taught tech person. Said, I have to do this myself, I have to code it all, I have to design it, what's my logo, what's my typeface? I just said, screw it. Go for good enough. And 2 Fridays ago, in 2 hours, I put together my website. Take action on those. Don't just say you're going to do this. I've been saying I'm going to publish rosemarylapka.com for 10 years. I've had the address for 10 years. And finally said, screw it. Use the template. It doesn't matter if it's perfect or the best text or the best photo or the best design. Just put it up there. Just do it. And that was an accomplishment. And that was pretty cool.
To be much more confident in myself than I was when I got here. I realized that I do have a lot of talents and a lot of strength, and I'm very confident in my ability to rely on myself and to follow my intuition and to understand the world through the personal lens that I've been given, and to go forward doing that all the time.
We believe is a new opportunity to test ourselves and test the solutions that we've used in the past and find new solutions for the future. Problem solving is what we can attribute almost everything back to in any part of our curriculum, in any of the ways that we've built our team, in any of the ways that we ask our students to deal with their problems when they get here, both personal as well as professional. Such a huge part of Exosphere that a lot of times catches people off guard is how much time we ask people to look in the mirror. How much time we ask them to stare themselves in the face and say, what can I change to be the better innovator, to be the better entrepreneur, to be the better human that it would take to build something that will change the world.
I'm very optimistic because I'm seeing in Exosphere a real place where all this development can be taken seriously. So I can say I'm really optimistic about the future.
Three. Hey, no! Okay. 1, 2, 3. No. Let's start the introduction. 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, and welcome to this wonderful edition of Berlification. We are in Brazil here in Exosphere, and now we have a lot of people from all over the world. Please make a yes. From all over the world. And we are just learning the basic of parletification.
finding that that's enough time for people to make huge changes in their lives, but not so long that they don't remember how to go back to the world that they came from and be an influence and an impact that they are proud to represent Exosphere when they leave.
Our mantra here at Exosphere is disturb the universe. And what that means to us is that wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever your station of life, you can do something to make it known that you existed, that the world is different because you lived. You may not think that you have the resources to do anything. You may not think that you have the time or the skills or the knowledge, but you can do something. You can do something that maybe makes you just a little bit uncomfortable, maybe makes other people just a little bit uncomfortable. But through that discomfort, the new world is really born. At the end of Emerson's essay, Self-Reliance, he doesn't let us off the hook with any excuses. He reminds us that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles.